Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big topics behind the headlines. Today, we are diving into the absolutely explosive rally in gold and silver, and some of the powerful forces that could be driving prices into totally uncharted territory.
Just look at this number. To get started, let's put this into perspective. According to the source, in less than a year, silver delivered an absolutely astonishing return of over 200%. That's a tripling of value in just 9 months. And gold has been on a similar tear, with both precious metals just surging at a breakneck pace.
So this kind of explosive growth has everyone asking the exact same question. Is the rally over, or is this really just the beginning? Should you be looking to buy, sell, or is this just a massive bubble that's waiting to pop? Okay, to really understand what's going on, we're going to break down 5 key drivers that were highlighted in the source material. We'll kick things off with America's potential gold pivot, then we'll zoom out and look at global factors like central bank buying and conflict. After that, we'll examine the Fed's big dilemma with interest rates, and we'll finish up with a unique trading angle that was mentioned. So let's get right into it.
First up, this idea of America's potential gold pivot. The source points to a proposal that could signal a return to a very old and, well, a very powerful economic idea. The source really highlights this statement from Judy Shelton, who was a former economic advisor to President Trump. The suggestion is that on U.S. Independence Day, a hugely symbolic date, right, the government could announce a major shift in how it backs its debt.
So what exactly are we talking about with gold-backed bonds? Well, a typical government bond is really just backed by faith, your trust that the government will eventually pay you back. A gold-backed bond, though, is backed by something tangible, something real, physical gold held in reserve. This would be a fundamental shift. We're talking about moving from a system based on faith to one that's anchored by a physical asset. According to the source, a move like this would be designed to restore confidence in the US dollar and maybe even counter efforts by other nations to move away from it. But that's not the only piece of the puzzle. The source also points to talk of revaluing the 8,133 tons of gold that the U.S. government holds. For decades, it's been officially valued at just $42 an ounce. As you can imagine, revaluing it to the current market price would be a truly seismic financial event. And what a shift it would be. That revaluation could instantly unlock over $1 trillion on the government's balance sheet. The source suggests this would basically give a green light to printing more money. And historically, we know that when more dollars enter the system, investors often flock to hard assets like gold, which of course pushes prices even higher. Okay, let's move to the global stage for a minute and see how this all builds, because this isn't just an American story. There are 2 major factors at play worldwide: huge central bank buying and escalating geopolitical conflict. First off, central banks are on an absolute gold buying spree. The source uses India's central bank, the RBI, as a prime example. Back in 2019, gold made up just 7% of its total reserves. By September 2025, that figure had doubled to 14%. That's a clear signal that nations are putting more and more trust in gold. Now, the second major global factor is the growing geopolitical tension, and the source points squarely at the escalating crisis in Iran. This timeline really shows how a regional crisis could spiral out of control. The source lays out this frightening domino effect. You have internal protests in Iran that lead to a crackdown, which then prompts a threat of attack from the U.S. The speaker warns that if this happens, it could trigger a much wider conflict, a World War III scenario that would likely send gold and silver prices absolutely soaring.
All right, let's bring it back to the U.S., where another powerful force is at play. Immense political pressure on the Federal Reserve, the country's central bank. The source highlights this recent, very direct statement from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. The speaker interprets this as Powell publicly resisting political pressure to cut interest rates, all in an effort to maintain the Fed's independence. So the crucial point is this potential chain reaction. If that political pressure actually forces the Fed to cut interest rates, it injects a fresh wave of cash into the system. And where does that money go? Well, it often chases hard assets, like gold and silver, driving their prices even higher. Finally, the source material discusses a specific trading angle. It details a different way to access these markets, focusing on the ability to trade outside of traditional market hours. The speaker's rationale here is pretty simple. Major geopolitical events often happen on weekends, when traditional markets are closed. So this method is presented as a way to trade or hedge your positions 24/7, reacting to news as it breaks.
So the speaker details a process using specific ticker symbols on crypto platforms. It's XAU for gold and XAG for silver. These are instruments that are designed to track the price movements of the physical metals. But here's the kicker. They can be traded 24/7.
So let's just pull all of this together. This source presents a powerful cocktail of factors for a major bull case. You've got a potential historic pivot in U.S. policy, global central banks stockpiling gold, a geopolitical crisis on the brink, and all this pressure on the Fed to create more money. And all of that leaves us with one final provocative question. With all these massive forces apparently pointing in the same direction, you really have to wonder what, if anything, could possibly stop this rally. It's something to consider as these events continue to unfold.